Episode 10, Attention Span, How Games Have Changed. Hello everybody, welcome again to another episode of my intermediate podcast called CheckMark English. This is episode number 10, and to me, it feels like a milestone or achievement because most people who start a podcast don't last this long. According to some statistics or stats I saw online, 90% of podcasts don't make it past episode 3, and 99% don't make it to episode 20. Well, I'm halfway there. I hope these episodes have been useful for your English learning journey and that the topics I spoke about so far have been fun and interesting. In episode 1, I talked about how we use technology in our everyday lives without even thinking about it. Today, I want to talk about how games have changed over the years and the impact it's had on young people, both positive and negative. As always, you can read the transcript on my website at checkmarkenglish.com. Reading the transcript will help with English spelling, which is one of the most difficult things to learn. Okay, let's now get started and take a look at how games have changed over the last 20 years. First of all, I want to explain the meaning of attention span. This phrase refers to the amount of time a person can focus their mind on something without getting distracted or losing interest. For example, if somebody has a short attention span, they might find it difficult to focus on a book for an extended or long period of time. I just wanted to explain that quickly before moving forward with this episode. When I think about my childhood, or when I was a child growing up, playing games was a really big part of it. I may not have said it yet, but I have 6 older brothers and no sisters. Yes, you heard that correctly. I'm the youngest of 7 boys. My poor parents. In case you're curious or wondering, our oldest or eldest brother is 14 years older than I am. I will talk more about my family in a separate episode on its own later on. So there were 7 of us brothers, and we played all sorts of games and sports. I remember one Christmas when I was about 8 years old, we got a gift that was a set of board games. It had chess, checkers, dominoes, and a few others. Both chess and checkers are classic board games that are played one player versus another. You will definitely know what these games are if you search on Google for them. And dominoes is a really old game where you have these rectangular pieces that have little dots on them that represent the value or number. My dad loves this game and still plays it today with his siblings and other family members. When we were children, we would put domino pieces in a line, we'd push the first one, and it would make all the others fall down one after the other, creating a cool sight. You can make them so complicated and look incredible. If you search on YouTube, amazing domino setups or domino art, you will find how unbelievable people can make them. It took a lot of time, effort, and patience to make a long line of dominoes in a cool pattern. Sometimes we accidentally touched one and made it fall before we were finished, which would start the entire chain reaction. We then had to pick them back up and start again. We did lots of activities like this because there was no internet or smartphones when I was that age. Just to let you know, I was born in 1992 and my birthday was earlier this year, which means I'm 31 years old. Another thing we did a lot was play sports. We were outside much of the time playing basketball, hockey, soccer, and every other sport you can think of. Not only that, we biked around a lot too, and went rollerblading. Rollerblading is where you roll around on the ground using shoes that have wheels on them. These shoes are called rollerblades. They're very common, and kids love using them. As we grew a little bit older, we got a computer. Those old ones that were really big with the monitors that had really big back areas, like the old televisions or TVs. Isn't it great that we now have flat screens? For us, the computer opened up a new world that we haven't experienced before. We played those old games like Solitaire, Minesweeper, and Pinball that didn't require any internet. And remember, I was born in 1992, so if you are around my age, you definitely know what I'm talking about. Anyways, these games that we played on the computer were simple, but were so popular and fun to us. We didn't have an internet connection unless we connected our phone line to the computer. You might be too young to remember that, but it was a common thing. Your internet could connect through your home phone line. My family wouldn't let us do this though, because then nobody was able to call the house phone. When we got the computer, we spent a lot less time outside playing sports, and also less time playing games like chess. We spent even more time in front of a screen when we got a game console like the Nintendo N64. We spent countless hours playing that as well. Did you notice that when I was describing what I did growing up as a kid, I didn't mention a cell phone at all? There were no cell phones when I grew up. In fact, I didn't get my first cell phone until I was able to buy my own phone around the beginning of 11th grade, when I was about 17 years old. And when I did get it, it was one of those old flip phones that just texted and called and couldn't do anything else, unlike smartphones of today. Why do I bring this up? What is the point of all this? I bring this up because I've noticed many differences with kids growing up today compared to when I was a kid. These days, children seem to have shorter attention spans. It's like they're always in a hurry, wanting an outcome or reward right away, and if they don't, they give up quickly. Of course, children are always like this, but I think it's more apparent or obvious today. Back when I was growing up, we didn't have constant or non-stop distractions of cell phones with games and the internet. We had to be patient and wait for things. We had to focus on one thing at a time, especially when it came to games. Nowadays, it's harder to get children to read books or play slow-paced games like chess. Kids are learning to use cell phones at a younger age, which gets them used to games that are fast-paced and highly stimulating, meaning they stimulate you a lot. Because they are now more used to phones, picking up a book and reading can require too much patience and may not offer enough stimulation or reward for kids to enjoy them. Just so you know, I purposely used the word stimulation, stimulate, and stimulating so that you can see the different ways that word can be changed into and used differently. I have many nieces and nephews, so I see this change compared to my own childhood. Nieces are the daughters of my brothers, and nephews are the sons of my brothers. They are in need of instant gratification or reward because they're growing up in a world where smartphones, tablets, and the internet are part of their daily life from a very young age. It's incredible or amazing to see how they can use a cell phone effortlessly or without any effort, even better than my parents can. Children today often learn how to use a cell phone before they've learned how to walk. I wonder if children in the future will read books at all. As much as it has an impact or effect on children, it also affects us adults. We find it more challenging or difficult today to concentrate on something for long periods of time. I believe a big part of it is being able to get information extremely quickly from the internet using your phone. So we expect to get other things in our lives quickly as well. For example, before smartphones, if you didn't know the definition or meaning of a word, you had to get your dictionary, look up or search for the word, and find its meaning. That might take you a couple of minutes. You would often read the sentence and try to find the meaning of the word using the context of the sentence because you knew it would take a while to find it in the dictionary. Whereas now, you can Google the meaning instantly or right away with full explanations and examples. Don't get me wrong, I think it's amazing and has many benefits how we can access unlimited information with our phones and internet, but I believe that we rely or depend on it a little bit too much. I noticed this about myself also. Sometimes instead of thinking something through, I decide to just search for the answer online because I don't want to spend the extra time trying to figure it out on my own or by myself. One of my friends almost never turns on the GPS when driving. GPS is where your phone tells you where to go when driving. He said that he'd rather figure out how to get somewhere beforehand and then find his way there. He doesn't want to rely or depend on the GPS. I respect that because it's a good skill to learn, to be able to get to places without using a GPS. Okay, I'm getting a little bit sidetracked. As I was saying earlier, we got a Nintendo 64 game console one Christmas. My brothers and I played a lot, especially if it was cold and raining outside, which it usually was, growing up in Vancouver. Looking back on it, or thinking about it, games were a lot more difficult back then. They took more thinking and patience to figure out the game and how to complete the objectives. It could take you quite a long time to earn a reward in the game. Today, I play games once in a while and I notice how much easier they are, usually by guiding you on what to do next and giving you lots of rewards quickly. I believe that it's designed for today's newer generation of players who lose interest really quickly, and the game developers and designers don't want that to happen. I still have our old Nintendo N64, and sometimes I play old games like Zelda, Ocarina of Time, or Super Mario 64. In the old Zelda, the game makes you search around and figure out what you're supposed to do on your own, rather than telling you what to do all the time. It was also very challenging and rewarding to complete a level or puzzle. The rewards were bigger and felt more satisfying when you finally got them, because they took you longer to complete. In comparison to now, I have the newest version of Zelda called Tears of a Kingdom. Although it's a really great game, it almost tells you exactly what to do and where to go. And there are tons of little rewards you get all over the game. Every few minutes you get rewarded in some way or another. To me, it made each reward feel less important because of how often you would get them. On top of that, or furthermore, there are literally thousands of videos on YouTube and other websites that show you every little thing about the game. Everything from how to find every item in the game, how to beat every monster, and everything else. I believe that because of this, most players won't spend the time trying to figure out much of the game by themselves, and instead will search online how to do everything. I'm not saying that old games are better than now, but I feel that they are vastly or greatly different, and it demonstrates or shows how different things used to be. Mobile or cell phone games like Candy Crush and Temple Run are a couple of examples of games that are very stimulating and fast-paced. These games are created or made to provide quick bursts of excitement and instantaneous rewards. Bright colors, fast-moving, and quick decision-making gives players an adrenaline rush. Because of our shorter attention spans today, these games are perfect because they offer the player small rewards quickly so that they won't lose interest as fast. Whereas a game of chess might take you a little while to finish, it requires lots of strategy and thinking. Winning a chess game takes time, and nowadays, many of us don't want to invest that time. I talk about these types of things with my friends from time to time, and we usually agree that people have a harder time focusing nowadays. It's funny because when I hang out with them, we usually go out to eat somewhere or have a drink, and every few minutes, somebody will check their phone or just start using their phone for a while. Even if it seems rude or impolite, people will still do it because we are glued or attached to our phones and have a hard time focusing on other things. Here's another example of something I noticed about myself. When I eat a meal, I always have to watch something on my phone, on the computer, or the TV. Or I'll put my headphones on and listen to a podcast or audiobook while eating, doing the dishes, working out, or even just walking. Not only that, I make the video that I'm watching play at a faster speed, usually 1.5 times faster than normal. It just shows how we are constantly wanting more information faster. To summarize, I don't think that today's generation is better or worse than previous ones. I think all generations have their positives and negatives, and it's up to us to make sure we identify or recognize them and make decisions that are best for ourselves and others around us. Thanks for making it to the end of another episode. One thing is for certain, podcasts have been a great thing for entertainment, learning languages, and learning all sorts of other things. If you enjoyed this episode and want to help me out, I would appreciate it if you could leave me a review on your favorite podcast platform, subscribe to my YouTube channel, or follow me on Instagram. The links to all of those will be in the description of this episode. And remember to check out my website to follow along with the full transcript for free. My website is checkmarkenglish.com. Thanks again, and see you in the next episode.